It is time to solve this case.
Hey everybody, Eric here for Mojo at the Movies. Today we're going to do a quickie on Murder on the Orient Express. This is the big budget whodunit from Kenneth Branagh, of course based on the book by Agatha Christie. And it's not the first time it's been adapted to the big screen. In fact, it's been adapted 4 times, some to the small screen, some to the big screen, notably 1974's film version, which was directed by Sidney Lumet and it was starring Albert Finney, Lauren Bacall, Sean Connery, Anthony Perkins. So the question is, do we need another big screen adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express? Well, here are 5 reasons why this version kind of derailed. First off, the cast. Great cast. It's like a brochette of talent. You've got a lot of Oscar winners and a lot of Oscar nominees. Michelle Pfeiffer, Kenneth Branagh, Josh Gad. You've got Johnny Depp, Willem Dafoe, even Daisy Ridley, who we're going to see in the new upcoming Star Wars. And I think people are a little more excited about her in Star Wars than in this movie, but I digress. The fact is you've got an amazing cast, and yet none of them really seem to gel together. It's almost as if the casting director just kind of took a bunch of names and threw them at the wall, and none of it really stuck. It's almost as if they're all kind of acting in a silo and there's no cohesive quality, so it's very hard to kind of feel attached to any of these characters. It's almost like they phoned it in. So it's really too bad because they have a lot of potential, but it just kind of fell flat. Second problem, direction. So Kenneth Branagh is a very accomplished director, notably for his adaptations of Shakespearean work. He did Much Ado About Nothing, he did Hamlet, but he also did Thor, the first Thor movie, and he did the most recent Jack Ryan. So he's got the directing chops, he's also got the acting skills, but he put himself as the principal character here. He's the main role, Hercule Poirier, and the whole thing is like one giant selfie. It's just his face big on the screen the whole time. It is very vain. I don't know if it's a vanity project, but I feel like he just kind of, it's all about him. It's just his face the whole time, and that I found a little bit too disappointing, although I did like the mustache. Very nice work on the mustache. Third problem, the source material, as I mentioned, really good, and the writer is really good as well. Michael Green, who also wrote Blade Runner 2049, and Logan, really underrated, one of the best movies I've seen in a long time, and so you know that he has a way of connecting with audiences, but for some reason something didn't work here. It just feels disjointed, and it's strange because the book itself is about 70 pages. It's not a long read, it's not a complicated story, and yet he had trouble making those connections between the characters and especially making the characters connect to the audience. Next problem, cinematography. Very nice. It looks great. The shots of Jerusalem and especially Istanbul as the train is pulling out of the station, as well as the mountainous regions, but it's too heavy on the CGI. I kind of feel that he could have done a lot more with realistic photography here. The whole thing feels too saturated. What's more, the train. There was so much opportunity to use the train as a character in the cinematography, and I just kind of felt like, yeah, there was a couple of neat trickeries, but the train wasn't exploited as much as it could have been, and there were some weird choice of shots. All of a sudden, the camera would go to these, bird's eye view, and we would see conversations from the top down. And I like that kind of artistic moves when there's a reason for it, but it just kind of seemed out of place in this movie. Lastly is just the sense that I never cared about any of the characters. And that could be a combination of all the problems I named before. I just got the sense as I was watching the movie, why do I care? None of them are likable, and it's not in a Seinfeldian way where they're unlikable but you kind of root for them at the same time. None of these characters, they were too one-dimensional. There was no sense of joy in watching any of these characters either do well or do badly or get killed or solve a crime. And speaking of solving the crime, as my colleague Michelle mentioned, when you're watching a whodunit, you want to have these little clues that allow you to connect the dots and eventually figure it out for yourself. The way this movie was made, you never really have that capacity. They just kind of throw information that there's no way that you could have known that unless they told it to you. So, I think all in all, it's a fun ride. It looks good, but it just kind of fell flat and never really made it to the station for me.
Who takes up the knife?
Cannot trust no one. Another one?
Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.